Shalom to Rabbi Warren Goldstein, Chief Rabbi of South Africa.
Thank you. Shalom, Yoni. So lovely to speak to you again.
Thank you. Rabbi Goldstein, you wrote on Tuesday that limited lifting of the travel ban isn't enough. You called for a full cancellation of any travel ban. Now, it seems that that's the direction we're going. How do you sum up the struggle at this point?
Yes, I think that the last 2 years have been traumatic for the whole world. Obviously, this pandemic has affected every dimension of life. But I think that as hopefully these travel bans are going to come to an end very soon, I think that what we really need to do is to learn from this experience in terms of the relationship between the state of Israel and diaspora Jewry, because these travel bans have done enormous damage to that relationship, and that relationship now needs to be repaired. Because I think that the damage that has been done is that it's something that I've always understood, and I think so many others have, and I think even the founders of the state understood this very, very clearly, that the state of Israel is not just another country, another state, another government that only has responsibility for its own citizens. It is the state of the Jewish people, of Am Yisrael, and that's why the founders of the state instituted the law of return. They understood this is the nation state of the Jewish people. And by the Israeli government over the last 2 years, on many occasions, blocking the entry of diaspora Jews into the state of Israel, treating us essentially like tourists and saying, well, if you're a tourist from Germany or Canada or America, then you have the same restrictions applied to you whether you're a Jew who's trying to get in and you're coming to visit family or attend a milestone event or have children who want to go and study in yeshiva or in university. All of this was just treated with the same approach, and I think that has done enormous damage to the relationship. And I think going forward now, that relationship needs to be repaired.
You're saying that there was an actual impact. How was it felt on the field?
Yeah, well, I think the impact of this has been in twofold. One is the identity of Israel as a Jewish state responsible for Am Yisrael, and number two as well is the humanitarian suffering, because you see, in essence, as Am Yisrael, as the Jewish people, we are one people and we are one family, and so you have members of the Jewish people of Am Yisrael in the diaspora and in Israel, and who are actually family members. So you're like almost tearing a nation in two. Our connection to Israel is so deep, spiritual, emotional, psychological, family, learning, everything, so that it's like ripping the nation in two. And that caused an enormous amount of human suffering. You cannot believe the number of cases that came across my desk over the last 2 years. People writing to me to say, can I help them? A father not being able to attend the bar mitzvah of his own son, a divorced father whose wife and his son, his ex-wife and his son living in Israel, he wanted to attend the bar mitzvah of his son, he couldn't get in. And so many stories like that. The family friends of the K family coming to be Menachem Avel to come and comfort the mourners in the week of Shiva after Eliyahu K was murdered, not being allowed in, being forced to travel on Shabbat. These were cases that caused so much personal suffering and emotional harm. And so the trauma of these last 2 years, we need to find a way to heal this relationship and to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Because as these travel bans are coming to being lifted now, it's not that they're being lifted from the principle of saying, well, we're Am Yisrael, we're one people. It's talking from a point of view of the numbers and the medical, but really this goes way beyond that. And I think going forward, the appeal that I would like to make is we need to begin a conversation and find ways of reaffirming and articulating this relationship between Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel, and diaspora Jewry.
And you also wrote that now things must change also for the future.
Yeah, well, I think what is needed now is, what's going to be with the next wave and another variant, God forbid, is then all of a sudden the sky is going to be closed again. And, we need to have a sense of certainty here, and a sense of knowing about the future. For people who are making aliyah, they need to know, Jews who are making aliyah from the diaspora need to know that when they get on a plane to make aliyah, it doesn't mean that they're going to be cut off from their own relatives who are left behind in Chutz La'aretz. It also means that Jews of the diaspora need to know that Israel is there, because it's our home, it's part of who we are. And I think that That is important. Maybe a debate that needs to begin is in the same way that we have the Chok HaShvut, the law of return, which the founders of the state implemented to give the right of any Jew in the world to make Aliyah and to get Israeli citizenship. Maybe there needs to be a clause in there which we could call Chok HaKnisa, the law of entry, the right of a Jew to enter the land of Israel, because that right is not a citizenship right. Yoni, I understand, and people have said, well, you're not a citizen, you don't pay taxes, don't serve in the army. So firstly, there are thousands of lone soldiers who come from Chutz La'aretz. But I understand that, of course. Jews of the diaspora do not pay taxes, do not serve in the Israeli army, and you cannot have the rights of citizenship, the rights of citizenship, of healthcare, of education, of all of what it means to be a citizen. Of course, that is for citizens, but the right to enter the land of Israel is not a right of citizenship. It is the birthright of every Jew. We are the children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That is our divine right to enter Eretz Israel. That's not a right of citizenship. And so I think there is a fundamental distinction.
Rabbi Warren Goldstein, Chief Rabbi of South Africa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Yoni.